On map 1 Inferno is going to be that best opportunity that 4Glory do have to do something in this series, and it will be their first map, the map pick of this side. Team Fiend picking into the CT half of things are going straight into the pistol round, where things will start to look dire or potentially glorious for 4Glory. Utility out for D and Kindo over on the T side line. No util or diffuse kits for Fiend at all. Same for the default pistols and the pistol basis. 4 players stack over towards the A site in brackets, and Bubble will take contact out of Banana. Take that first shot and just back out, wait for backup, and try hold off on the site from that. Flashed away, rotating out.
He was very wide on that Banana contact and thinking about starting to make an aggressive move forward out to CT. Got to be careful about completely overextending, only because rotates could be relatively slow out from that long position. Take the first kill and even get a couple. That's a decent hold from Bubble on B.
That 2 for 1 of the trade sets up the advantage for Fiend coming into the retake, with damage being done to Kindo as well. 4Glory not exactly in the best of spots, with the further USP shots ringing out, not quite catching Kindo for dead, but he is extremely low now on single digits of HP. Working back with his teammates, the likes of Victor will make his way in. Collins can get that kill, but again, the HP advantage swings true to the favor of the CT side. Collins got to get a second pick back, and indeed he does. Dreamer taps him up, but still can't capitalize on that kill. Finally turns it back to evens alongside Han, but time is ticking away. They don't have a kit. D forced out towards CT as his teammate falls, gets his double though, and gets the round for 4Glory.
Yeah, fantastic sequence coming out from Collins and D. I love the way that they flash forward and actually aggress out to that coffin sightline into construction itself and just keep pressure on. Make it really difficult for those trades to get back. 3 kills in total coming through for Collins. And D, one of the most experienced players on this team, Jay, he's the one to step up in the clutch.
Real big stuff from him, of course, down to 100 HP, so he had the HP advantage to try and work off of the back of that. His teammate gave a little bit of support in terms of the damage overall, but the headshots is what made the difference for 4Glory. And again, an important start for them on the T side line of their map pick. Guns out with the AK as a standard. Deagle's forced back in for Fiend.
They're going to start a lot of rotations back over to the B side. This could just be a 5-on-5 retake. Another very simple B exec coming through for 4Glory. And for Fiend, if they don't get a kill in quickly, they might just save.
A bomb plant being secured. The Eagles going to try to push forward on Bubble's part. I guess some sort of retake in. Of course, no casualties taken, just damage done to Collins, which means it could still be an expensive round. Fiend can't capitalize on that expense going into the next one, but it should still be expense nonetheless here against 4Glory. SMGs at the crossfire, get those 2 kills in on Red Star and Bubble. Kindo's going to wrap in, try to look for Victor next up. Doesn't quite catch that man. The AK of AVN thinking of pushing forward to that smoke. Victor catches that 1 kill, but he doesn't last much longer. AVN there with a trade, and Dreamer and Hart just backing off.
Just simple stuff, really coming through from 4Glory, putting the util down into an exec, and opening up the B side. Fiend, they didn't exactly play it poorly, they just had the wrong read, didn't they? They had so many players up on the A side, very similar to the pistol. Bubble's just playing from CT, gets smoked off. Okay, I'm going to fall back, try and see if we can get a couple of kills through the smoke, and see if we can set up some damage. They go in for the retake, and, well, just not really successful at all. Yeah, they get 1 pick back into Victor himself. Doesn't really get any more than that, so hold on to some of the upgrades that you have. 4Glory, a fantastic start from them on T side.
2-0 in, dealing with Fiend's force spy, forcing out a technical timeout for the Fiend. Cam, 1 player has DC'd. Again, quickly back in service, we can get back into the matchup itself. Of course, Fiend is working with those little upgrades on Dreamer and Han, the Scout, the CZ with the Kevlar on the pistol player. Shouldn't be an investment from anybody else here. I believe Hart might have passed his Deagle off to Victor or picked one up from his TED teammate and given that over to Victor's part. No investment from him. So yeah, Fiend just having whatever they can work with here. See what they can do against 4Glory. Again, damage is the name of the game here for round 3.
And when it comes to Fiend on Inferno, their last 9 maps on this have always come down relatively close. The best, or at least the worst performance really they've had is only 11 rounds. That's still double digits. So it does show that even though they're down 0-2, they are going to start putting a fair bit of pressure on when we get into the rifles. It could be still quite a close map. And this is a very similar setup once again from Fiend. It's slightly different though with Victor and the Deagle.
They're boosted above to look towards that Coffin's position, trying to look for the headshots out of the main entrance at Banana. Can dish out a little bit of damage, but not quite going for the kills. The nailing from Red Star might do some more. It lands close to center of mass, but not directly on most of the T-side players. So, again, just tags in against AVN, Collins, and Serini in particular. No way in for Team Fiend. They're smoked off with no access to the B site.
Just look for exits, honestly. Just as much damage as possible. You might as well send it. Yeah, there's some Kevlar to come in. And for 4Glory, no one's really peeking.
We find that one way in with a 2-for-1 trade. Bubba at least gets one pick back. Sees that a Dreamer trying to hold on to D. Does get that kill with damage under the second player. And Bubble again with an opportunity to maybe pick apart that individual. Out in hand. It doesn't matter if he goes up with the bomb here. Just look for those exits. Try to get those players to drop. In the end, falls back to hold on to the scout. And goes up with the bomb blast anyway. So 3-0 for 4Glory. Most of the guns stay in for them. The Fiend have a fall by.
Just start working with this momentum coming through from the Serbians. We know that their Inferno started off quite poorly on T side against Sinners. They got 13 rounds in total. They started on T and only got 5. It wasn't until we got into that second half that they really started coming back into the game and showing us what they've got to offer. So knowing they're up 3-1 or 3-0, potentially 3-1, this is the chance now for Han to get the AWP out. Looking from mid, not seeing any jiggle or any sort of early info.
Smoke set, nades on position for the CT side again and dealing out damage to Collins and D. A bit of a consistent theme here for Fiend. Able to do out the damage to 4Glory without actually getting the kills against them. The Rifles have got to step up. Bubble and Incendiary off that cross. See that Mach 10 crossing, spraying through, blinded by the flash and the smoke. They do catch that first pick, and that indicates the B site is the play. Bomb yet to get planted. They're going to wait back for this one a little bit longer here. 4Glory again taking more nade damage, and eventually get that bomb plant.
There's so much spam damage, and the HEs, it's not crazy, it's still chip, and it makes it so much easier to get this retake in. No one's coming from banana side from Fiend. Everyone out from spawn itself.
D facing alongside his teammate, both AKs out to the back lines. They can get D. They've got to continue checking around the walls. Dark facing from Collins, barely gets it sprayed together. And the transfer works out with AVN to support on a triple. And 4Glory will find 4 rounds.
Alrighty, this is looking quite pacey and impressive from 4Glory. Yeah, they did take a lot of damage on that B site when the bomb got down, but it was the post plant that started coming through. Kindo just working off from D. Collins again getting into the meat of things. Great spray transfer in for the Galil, and this guy is just consistently putting up numbers.
It's been a big element so far for this matchup. 4Glory. It is very early doors, so Fiend can still turn us around with the gun set to come back out in the next couple of gun rounds. Of course, their main main rounds that they've lost have been the pistol conversions and that one rifle, followed by another half bite here in round 5. I'm getting a bit of a taste of their own medicine as the HGs land directly to those 2 players in sandbags, and Red Star and Victor will take the early damage. Nothing done to 4Glory as they lean up to the A site hit this time. Only a couple individuals to hold up against this. CZ drops in with Dreamer, can get a 1 pick. Dink onto the second player, doesn't get the frag as both CTs are cleaned up, and the Ts don't have the A site yet, but they'll start to gain control.
Decent work for Dreamer. Gets away with almost a double, not quite completely. Sereni even cutting the rotate off from the bottom of banana position. Fiend just seeing if they can go in for a few more exit kills, see if they can do some further damage into the round. And for 4Glory, even with AVN very low, doesn't really need to continue peeking. Just rely on some of the teammates to get the job done.
Bubble leaning up here with the Deagle in hand, hoping to catch Sereni off with a Deagle shot or 2. Collins sees his man, gets his frag, sees the player coming, and makes it an ID triple. A 5-0 start for 4Glory. Again, it was a half-by round for Fiend with the guns back in for this one. This is where you start to look at them and say, right, we need to get rounds now. We need to get definitive rounds rather than just doing damage or getting away with exits. 4Glory are starting to establish a hell of a T-side line here against the Fiend camp. They'll also be back in with the M4s cross most of the board. Again, the M4A1S for the CT side. No AWPs yet for 4Glory. They can continue paying out the bonus rounds, though. They've got plenty of cash built up. And engagements with the AWP does not connect. Han missing a very easy shot on that boost.
Yeah, that was one of the more simpler ones, wasn't it? And just missing that opportunity. They don't get punished entirely. Yeah, Red Star goes down to 41 just in terms of the nade damage. Starting to walk forward up from that top of car position, just gain that top banana control. And for 4Glory, even being able to establish map presence in from Boiler and from the brackets itself, try to see if they can force an opening pick and just see if they drive the CTs further back.
AVN watching that long control, waiting for aggression on Han. Needs to get this pick in. Doesn't see him at the gap just yet. We'll look towards Boiler as well. Try to cover off both entryways alongside Red Star support. Falls back in the end, thinking there might not be an A play on the table, but the rotation is perfectly timed.
It's just so silent for 4Glory and for Fiend. They're getting a misread on the situation, rotating players out from CT Spawn. They've got to bring them back into A. Dreamer and Victor, it's going to come down to the two to defend. 40 seconds on the clock.
Hans thinking about a rotate through Speedway. Eventually those smokes go out towards Moto and Arch. Collins leans in. AVN will start the walkout. Molotov's in towards pit control as the CTs will be able to get here. Collins could get caught off, but AVN starts wrapping into the site. Collins with a Molotov might try driving away from the back corner. Indeed, Victor will be seen. That Molotov misses, doesn't stop AVN from getting the one frag. Collins has fallen in turn, and Bubble and Han and Victor, all players, get picking up those frags. Bring it all towards Serini in a 1 versus 3. 10 seconds left, and Fiend will find a nice lockout defensive with rotations in time for their first.
And it's funny, actually, that molly that came through from Longside is normally one of the CT retaking nades. You don't normally see it from the T side. The problem is, it's got to land, right? And when you're going up against a team like Fiend, whether it's on your map pick or not, you can't be making sloppy mistakes with utility, otherwise you're going to get punished. Just at the back of the site, just wasting time, just not really overextending, not committing to a fight, and just allowing the rotators to get there. Bubble doing some damn good damage, and Fiend, will they break the streak and find their first?
Oh! Shot for Han to start. Serini and caught off guard was that top mid control. Very effective stuff. Flashing for Collins to try to look on towards that cross position. A smoke set to come out. AWPD holding face with nades that will just try to drive the CTs back here.
Now, this is an opportunity now that Han is going to start getting some more freedom, some more consistency with that AWP, and you've got to wonder for 4Glory, now that they've actually got the AWP on T side, what they're actually going to try and achieve from this. So far, when you think about the early rounds in this map, there was a lot of B execs, a lot of quicker stuff. Since the rifles have come out, the last sort of 2 or 3 rounds, it's actually been a lot slower and a lot more silent from 4Glory.
Flashes in AVN. Start the walkout with a flash over. Speedway contested by the CT side. Han with a fantastic kill. Another one to add to his AWP tally. He had a bit of an awkward start in this map. He had a bit of an awkward start yesterday. If he keeps hitting shots like that, the Fiend might leave the 5-0 deficit back in the dust very early in this map up. 30 seconds. Kindo trying to work in with the AK, smokes down, flashes going over. Will try by his teammates a bit of an entryway into the site itself. Victor holds back, sees Collins. Collins gets his kill. The AWP knows where Dreamer is. Indeed responds alongside Kindo. They brought it back from a 5v3 to now 2v3. Fiend are the ones on the back foot.
Oh, great stuff coming in, and even another kill from Kindo out for that mini-pit position. Bubble now the last one left, and 4Glory, what a recovery after Han gets 2 picks from the AWP. The site just gets exploded on Collins. Even him being able to find a double, 4Glory up to 6, that looked incredible.
That should not have been lost at all for Fiend. 2 fantastic kills for Han. And then Victor and Co just giving up information, not winning these fights, allowing all the trades to come back. And 4Glory again down in the 3v5. Brought it to their advantage in a 3v1. And now a tactical's got to get called. It is for 4Glory, interestingly enough. I would have thought that Fiend wouldn't want to go for this.
Yeah. Do you want to double check that, mate? You'd think it'd be the other way, right? That's a bit of a surprise, I guess, for 4Glory. They just know, okay, how do we try and deal with the AWP of Han? Because in that round, they flashed out mid, still lost the fight. AVN walked along, still lost the fight. So, yeah, they recover it very nicely, and they get some beautiful entries on that play into the A side. They still lost a lot to the AWP, so that's probably what they're trying to figure out.
Simple enough round for 4Glory to follow it up as well. 1 casualty will come in for Kindo at least. It's 1 responsive, 1 A kicking it saber for the half buy for Fiend. It's going to leave a 7-1. 4Glory in a real good spot. Really, really good spot here. And again, it's still early doors for Fiend. It's still a really an awkward scenario for them. That deficit could still ring true to an advantage that it could lead to a very unlikely map win before Glory. It's still early doors, I realize that. The Fiend looking just as flat as they did yesterday.
Yeah, I think we need to start moving away from the early doors sort of argument, right? Because that's what I was thinking on Ancient. I was like, they're down 1-7, 1-8, 1-9. They're going to come back. They're going to come back. And then they just never did. So we need to kind of push that aside and just realize what's happened. 4Glory have come out to this map and they've looked explosive. They've looked on point individually. They're being able to recover some of these great rounds. And Fiend, they're not giving the oomph. We're not really seeing anybody find a lot of impact. They are going to change up the setup in terms of the buy forward, which I do enjoy. Get Red Star on that double up. See if they can find some more power that way.
Might need to. He was the man that was carrying Han back out of position in yesterday's proceedings. That double orb to get successful, though. If it becomes wasted investment, then we might be in trouble still. Flashes over to the mid control for 4Glory to get into brackets. They've got a bit of a boost up, I believe, going into the banana position. That Orb of Red Star looking down range, I believe. The Orb of Han going to sit back on his site. As the smokes and flashes come in, there's 3 players to defend against the entire force of 4Glory. Han does pick up that first. Incendiary down, Dreamer looking away, playing anti-flag to see that one player coming up to the balcony at the hay bales. Collins gets caught into 5-on-3. But again, we've seen these 5v3s fall apart for Team Fiend. Kindo swings up, looks to the box, trying to look for the AWP, trying to transfer it back towards Victor, who holds down a crossfire from Pit. They've got to isolate this first player in Dreamer, and D can find the AWP pick. Dreamer swings back onto Wards, and D will not hold on for much longer, leaving a second for Fiend.
And that was a good early contact coming through from Han, just posted on the angle into the site itself. Notice how he just goes back to safety, not really pushing out into the site itself, instead slowing it down with utility, waiting for the contact of his teammates, because he knows if I don't overpeak, I'll just wait for the cross. Dreamer and Victor have got this on wraps, and that's what they're able to do. Out from the site, out from Pit, they get 4 kills between them, and for Fiend, now it's about finding consistency, being able to follow rounds up in a row.
Warps in. Boost up for Red Star, trying to look in for another good opening frag. The exact same setup as before with the assistance of that third individual. Seeing that one headshot, but can't quite connect it for the CT side, and nade tags both players down. Lone and Red Star force this mantle, go back to passive positions.
I wonder when Fiend actually take banana control, because so far they've been very reluctant to even take aggressive duels toward top banana. They've been putting a couple of nades down, taking a pick and then falling back, never really contesting the area, and even for Collins, it's just a walk forward.
Ahead of that smoke, flash in, not seeing the CT AWP. That allows Red Star a pretty simple pick. His teammate gets pressured but stays alive. The advantage goes the way of Fiend, and backup is on the way. Molotov's going to try to drive these CTs out of position, especially in the backside. Serini takes his face and barely wins out that engagement. The AWP of Red Star can respond again, maintain the advantage for Fiend. The bomb will go down. It'll be a 4v3 retake for Fiend.
Again, Fiend have never been bringing players down bottom banana and getting them into, or bottom of mid, down into banana to get this retake on. They might even boost up to the flower pots.
Orp leaning up, nades on. AVN does get tagged. Sereni's getting the hell away from any pre-nade positions because he knows there'll be a corner if a nade lands at his feet. Orp of Red Star looks back to those back lines, trying to look onto that new box angle, expecting there to be T-side contact in that position, but no. They're out over towards the Shire. Here on the boost, Serini might get caught, and indeed Dreamer's boosters come forward. AVN evading bullets in the midst of the smoke, point blank against the CT players. Gets behind him as Kindo ends up dropping there on the bomb though. AVN can't find an angle, they're going to stick it, and this will be a third for Team Fiend. AVN will get a couple of exits together, but he loses his life all the same. And a bit of hesitation on that one, thinking he might have found a flank angle, but just stick with the defuse and that will all come together.
I don't really get that from AVN. So I guess, you know, if he wants to hold on to the rifle and he knows that 1v4 is just not going to be possible, fair play. I don't mind it. Back off and save onto the weapon. It's just that when the bomb gets defused, he then looks for a fight. What's going on there? If you're going to fight anyway, surely you might as well fight and try and see if you can deal with the diffuser.
Maybe he believed it was a fake with massive CT side forces.
Yeah.
Must have been a misread somehow, some way. Either way, it's the third round on the board for Fiend. The comeback on, if you will. Still 4 rounds separate the 2 squads. Double Orb staying in with the AKs and Mac Temple out for Dean. Money Trouble's going to hit 4Glory here. Indeed will be the first player to fall to Han. Great shot into the first casualty. Nades back to respawn. A smoke missed out for the T-side. Does not drive away the Arch player. Dreamer's going to burn back over towards the pit control. Try and hide the missed that smoke, but he's taking a ton of damage. Bubble gets that one frag. Dreamer is afraid of before. And Collins turns back to a 3 versus 3. The bomb can go down. He's still fighting here towards long. All sorts of bullets flying left, right, and center. He can't isolate a man advantage.
I can't believe he gets out of there alive, just goes back into the site itself. And in terms of util, you've got, what, a flash and a smoke, and that's all the CTs have. Red Star just waiting for a bit of a gap, waiting for an info play out from Moto.
Shots ringing out from the AWP blind. He might have caught vision on Kindo. They might be aware of his presence on the boost box itself. Two short players making their way in. Time's running. AVN sees two, gets one. Orb starts peeking. Kindo's going to get caught. All left to Collins in the back corner of the site. Bomb not in his vision, but he's going to hold off for time anyway. 5 seconds. The diffuser's barely going to come in for Bubble. Has he got this? This will be close. And it just comes through for Fiend. Barely by the skin of their teeth.
Okay, a little bit tested there when it comes to the retake. Han being able to do as much work as possible from that library position. It was the slow retake in from the short side of Bubble that just trades on the teammate. Red Star getting a great pick in, and this kill could not have been timed any better. Collins just trying to waste time, get them as far away from that bomb as possible, and Fiend, this is the first time they've now been able to string rounds together.
Time out taken by 4Glory again. I'm kind of surprised that they're the ones taking as many attacks as they have done so far. They're still in the lead. I guess that last round was a loss for them, and the money trouble is going to hurt them going forward. A half buy on the table for the T side. 3 rounds to go for Fiend to catch up to 4Glory. Orps in, M4s. Standard stuff on the main set of rifles, and 4Glory have Tech 9s, PT50s. All sorts back on the buy. Red Star leans into mid first. Can't see anything on the passive position.
Got to think as well, the AWPs have got to be careful about how aggressive they fight. They've got a couple of players in the apartments in terms of a crossfire. This could be a bloodbath.
Great kill on Dreamer, but only could do so much. This Han's got to get his trades back to the AWP. Not ready for the next player that makes his way up from the apps entrance. The Orbs, however, lock out the crosses. No scopes and quick scopes, and all the scopes for the kills to a 1v3 for Serini. Leaning up, caught by Han, makes it a triple, makes it a 5th for Fiend.
I was worried for maybe 2 seconds there. When we see the early contact in from the 2 rifles of Dreamer and Victor, you go, oh, geez, that doesn't look good. And then it gets recovered quite nicely. Han with the Orb doing some decent damage. Getting that no-scope forward, being able to try and get himself up there. Getting closer to tying up with Collins. 13 kills up against 11 between the 2.
Keep this whole thing going for his side. Matches forward as Han tries to his 12th pick on the board initially, out towards that mid control with Red Star. And the apartment's back out of boiler. Molotov's an issue for 4Glory, trying to see if they can bait in a CT aggression or some CT sort of mistakes and utility that could be wasted. Pretty passive in general across their default line. The only man that's aggressive is AVN here. He's going to look for a fight on Red Star as well. This could be disastrous for him, and indeed it is.
It's just too dry, isn't it? It's 4Glory getting desperate for an opening man advantage. And when you go short side or long side in brackets and you're very dry, you're not using flashes, you're not using spokes, if an AWP's posted, you're going to lose that fight.
Simple fight to take there. Flash assist might have been nice to have towards that map brackets and mid control. No T-side player offered it though. Flash our way in as Han hands away from the utility thrown out by the T-side line, just looking down range here. Coffin set, Serini. Look for his picks, and smoke goes on. Flashes over. Serini going to lead that charge. M4 bubble on top of the flower pot boost. Can't see the T's just yet. He has caught one individual. Sprays Manic comes up with an A to Han. One player does aggress back in D, but he's going to be the lone man standing as the Orb behind can clean house on the site again. Another triple for him. And now does take that top frag position away from Collins.
Notice as well at the end of the round, Han actually picks up an AK rather than holding on to the NWP because they've got so much money. It's like, right, well, I'll just buy myself an Orb. Might as well get one of those D-side weapons forward. And just not checking the flower pot position at all. It's moments like that where for 4Glory, they can't be making those kind of minuscule mistakes where just positions are being overlooked. And for Fiend, this is now 5 rounds in a row from them.
Like I said at 7-1, it's early doors.
Oh, he's bringing that back now. Just try and get yourself out of trouble every time.
Look, anything can happen in CS, right? I think we've learned that over the last handful of years that we've done this game.
For sure, right?
4Glory. From a ridiculous start, from a very solid opening few rounds. Now to Fiend, looking to take this back to 7 apiece and maybe even beyond. Serini has already been caught The first casualty of this round. His teammates going to try and make him the last for their side, but they failed already. Victor Dreamer locked out the crossfire. 2 kills for the M4. AK looking for his own double. That's exactly what he'll get. 7 all to the board. 1 followed by 4Glory to close out the half.
Han just not really being tested out from mid at all. Again, quite dry in the peaks, and just the crossfire between Victor and Dreamer. A joy to watch up on A. You got 2 guys that are really hitting hard, and they're peeking on each other's contact incredibly well. They're working together as a 2-man unit. And for Fiend, everyone is fragging at a decently high level. 4Glory, try and see if they can get maybe more out of Collins and more support behind him.
Oh, missed shot from Han, uncharacteristic now in this later part of the half. It was pretty characteristic at the start, and Serena's going to turn it into 2 as Red Star also gives up aggression, and both of the orbs fall. 5v3 for 4Glory. 2 CTs on rotate back, suspecting this is going to have to be a B here. We'll try and re-aggress and retake banana control. Nades on, Serena should get tagged up. The AWP forced opposition as well. Follow-up HT from Bubble should dish out some more damage, but still very minimal done to the T side. Look at the HP bar comparison.
Yeah, that was very aggressive, and for Han, he'd been playing a lot out from brackets. First time we've seen him over to the B side that aggro, and even for Red Star, unnecessary for him to start moving as far forward as they have. Fiend are now going to gamble stack. They think to themselves, right, we've lost both AWPs, we're 3v5, lack of information, well, let's just stack on A.
Smokes back, Incendiary's on the AK of AVN, going to try lean in. Kindo can get a pick for another good frag. 2 left standing for Fiend, Victor and Bubble. Both on the A site, which is a good thing for them, but it's still a 2v5. With a full-blown execution coming in from all members of the 4Glory camp. Maybe Bubble could find a bit of an isolation here. There's 2 players with their backs turned. Oh, this is about to get dicey. That forward to spray the second. Trying to get his triple. Couldn't quite make it happen. But now Victor has all the info. D faces. Gets killed off. Collins' shoulder being seen. Now for the flank. Kindo makes his way out of the brackets. And indeed, the kill can come forward for him. 8-7 at the turn of the half. 4Glory hold the advantage, but only by a single round as we head towards their second half of the break. Well, Fiend may have been down by quite the margin at the start of the matchup, but they have brought it back to a touching distance against 4Glory. USP's in for the pistol round as 4Glory get to their CT side of things. Now towards that mid-control initially on the defaults. Pretty passive stuff from Fiend, trying to think and bait in mistakes and try and win a pretty confident pistol to get this half started.
Interesting setup by 4Glory. So they've got almost like a lurker of Collins just spotting out from information, just trying to go quite aggressive, see if it can bait them in. They had a lot of players over to that B site, and I guess maybe there hasn't been too much of a banana contact. They're thinking about going back to A. Now that a couple of shots in the Glocks have been coming forward, they go, right, we're just going to keep bringing players back and forth, I guess.
I think it's all a bait and switch here from the T side line. They haven't capitalized on their window, however. It could have been only Kindo to find out of this A site at 1 kill, and you would have gained the advantage. And the bomb plant as well. Eyes set as he does still hold his position alongside his teammates now, Serini. Both individuals watching the apartment's entrance, and it looks to be an apt spot to come through. No util to face it. They get that first pick in. Victor gets to get kill alongside Red Star. Kindo with one responsive. D trying to get to the site. Eventually AVN gets overwhelmed as D takes a ton of damage. Should get shut down by Bubble in the end. And it's all left to Collins in a 1 versus 4. Well out of dodge, well out of this one. We'll try go for the retake, but it's all a futile effort.
That's a great job there coming through from Han. It's one of those where maybe people at home are going to struggle with, but the pros get it down pretty much every single time that boost up. 2 Keo out in the flower pots and just a good post-plant position. It's one of those angles that you're not really expecting at all, and Collins thinks about it, and then, right, oh, Han's already killed me. 8-8. This is very worrying when you think that we were at 7-1 as an advantage for 4Glory.
Yeah, since that one-sided effort, they've gained a single round, and they might not look to gain any more if Fiend have anything to say about that. Of course, the rifles into the buyback, thanks to the round win itself for Fiend. Have the Glils on a couple players, a couple Mac-10s and AK for Red Star. Damage done early to Bubble and Victor, so that's a start for 4Glory's part, but that might be the extent of their entire basis now. Just the Eagles to work with, and that's Scout for D.
We've seen a lot of gamble stacks coming through from 4Glory in the pistol, and now in the anti-eco as well. D just getting jiggled, so at least seeing that first bit of information from Red Star would love a pick.
Turned away from as the smokes go down, does get a tag. Not quite a frag on Red Star. It makes his way forward as Kindo can turn his Deagle up in the apartments, and the CTs have made their switch in as they have all their backs turned. The T-side individuals not covering off the rotating positions of the CT forces. Galil Fahan can get a pick on, but still they've got to deal with Kindo. They've got to find him somewhere up in the apartments. Go for that bomb plant, but AVN's found a gap, and he's found Red Star as well. Han left alone, 1v3 to clutch.
God, there couldn't have been much of a gap in that moto smoke at all, and this just gets really difficult, because even for the long players, they're not really peeking out into the open. They're instead going back into moto. Hard as try, got to get in behind them, see if we can line them up for a couple of kills. He's down low on HP, and Kindo gets the job. For a moment, you thought as well that that clutch could have opened up an opportunity. It doesn't quite happen, and 4Glory steal it away.
Yeah, the HP advantage a bit too far gone, unfortunately, so not quite working out behind that one. A really, really decent effort, however, to hold that spray together. But it was down to this play from AVN that really decided the round right there and then. Ultimately leaving the advantage for 4Glory, sitting there still in that lead for the time being. Fiend will force the issue back for our third of the half. BZs, the Eagles, Tech 9s. Galil in for Han, another rebuy, of course, standard set of rifles for 4Glory with an SMG to boot into a much more aggressive mid default, which could get countered by a backstab.
When you are playing a team like 4Glory, you have to be open to expect everything. And in that position there, they were too tunnel vision to just trying to open up the site itself. No one was watching a backstab in case someone pushed through the arch smoke, someone pushed through the library smoke, and it allowed AVN to just catch them completely off guard. A double players out from porch side on short with the M4s, even a FAMAS out on long. A Fiend. Very silent, not a lot of map control gained from them. They've only got really a flash and a smoke to use of the util and all.
Rotates pushing in towards that mid control, smokes on. Red Star tries to think about his next way in. Kindo watches with the M4 ducked away behind quad. Expecting T-side aggression soon. 30 seconds for Fiend to go for the hit.
It has to be a play into A. The time's just not there for them to start a fake or any sort of rotate back. And even for Kindo, expecting a molly's going to put a smoke down in pair.
There's the SMG for Collins, gets his 2 frags, makes it a tidy triple. He even grabs that Galil for extra bonuses and a firepower. The bomb's been dropped, the kills pouring in now for the CT side. Not a casualty taken. 10-8 for Glory, extend their lead.
Really impressive stuff, again, coming through from Collins. And coming into this event, I'd known a few of the players from 4Glory and I'd seen them on previous teams. I didn't know the team a massive amount. And honestly, these last handful of broadcasts, right, Collins has really come onto my radar. The in-game leader of this team, constantly being able to put up some really good frags and just looking great in the situation, even up against Fiend on their first map.
Glocks out for them now. They've got to just take this on the chin. M4 faces, gets 1 good kill. Like D with his FAMAS finding his frag. All sorts of players falling down for the T side line. No trades involved for Team Fiend. All 5 alive for 4Glory. Establishing their lead and now bringing us back to a 3-round differential. Can they maintain it now above the Bulgarians with the guns coming out?
Now this is what 4Glory have got to have the mindset of, okay, we've got the lead from 3, let's keep pressure on. Let's not show what happened in sort of the mid and late section of that first half where we just lost the ball. We just really couldn't get the competitive nature going. And for Fiend, they are bringing a lot of players into second mid.
No resistance from the 4Glory side, a much more passive basis for them. I guess they recognize that, yeah, there's going to be guns out for the T side this time. Don't want to get too overzealous or get overly aggressive. We're playing on bonus weapons, so the best chance that we can get in this round, the damage at least to come through, if not a round itself, we gain us so much from here on out. Really, really good anchor point for 4Glory. Obviously, they've got to turn it into a round victory itself or otherwise get some consolation. Smokes down as they set themselves up in brackets. Fiend look to try and hit the A site.
A very similar setup to the last round of what 4Glory have out from the bracket position itself. Smoke goes down to the molly. They'll know someone's playing out from quad.
Main incendiary. Oh, D catches Red Star bursting through just beyond that smoke. Might have caught him in the gap, but either way, pre-firing the angle at the perfect timing. Han gets his kill. Collins and Kindo can trade right back, but Bull caught off all the same. And Dreamer stands alone in the 1 versus 4. Traded quickly by D, and the bonus round goes the way of 4Glory.
Oh, what a great fight that was indeed. When you think he puts the smoke down, you go, right, maybe take a couple of pop shots, just get back to the side to look up to that balcony position, deal the damage in from Boiler. Kindo being able to get away with a couple of kills, and then even that lurk from Dreamer that's trying to provide an assistance from another angle of approach. He gets that first trade, but then just the swing out from Moto is so quickly, he can't find any kind of multi-frag, and 4Glory up to 12. Fiend, they have to weak go again. They're not getting these bomb plants.
No, they're just continuously finding loss after loss now. And once again, we're back to where we were at the start of the matchup. 4Glory starting to extend the lead. Try and look for a big advantage above Team Fiend. In the areas, of course, in hands. The Eagles trying to see if they can force the issue back for Fiend, but they've given no opportunities over on 4Glory. No angles of attack for the T's.
We're getting closer and closer to that 7-1 scoreline again. If you just look at the second half and the way that it could be built up, D playing out from Library is going to get seen by quite a few of those T-side players and going to get wrapped.
Was trying to count, but can't get a kill on Han and gets caught up in the Library angle, allowing the kills to come forward. Now 2-2 split on both CT bases. Killing for Kindo as Victor does find Collins out towards Stacks, and now the B side becomes a very delicate prospect. Serini, all that remains, M4. Hold back on this site defensive, try to keep himself set in towards the construction angle. The smoke goes back. Then he waits, hearing all sorts of footsteps, but knowing that this has to be a B play and they can't really go for a solo hero effort. He might try for one, but ideally he waits for his backup to arrive and they go for a unified retake.
Dreamer getting the information straight away that someone's playing out from there, and Victor is able to get the trade. Han with the AWP looking down for Badana, does get flashed off the angle.
Doesn't fire away though, they might not have spotted him. And already AVN's looking for a way out here. Or maybe trying to catch off some utility that was dropped by the T side. I don't know. Either way, there's nothing to work with going into this banana control. Serini had to stay alive in that one. Maybe if he got the kill and fell back, that would have been fantastic. But again, he needed his teammates to come and support. They didn't do that. And then Fiend will find 9 as a result.
I know that's a difficult position for D to... Hang on, because they might actually get some more damage down here in Banana in terms of the exit from Kindo. Yeah, okay, that's more weapons being dropped. That's keeping the economy low. D in that position, actually, Harm goes down to the bomb as well. Red Star does stay alive, so at least they keep the AWP in play. D and Library, I know that those shots are relatively difficult, right? You've got to be hitting them, though. That first one out from long, at least getting a kill. The way that he drops that AWP and there's no support just allows that to get picked up by the T side to continue doing damage in.
Ultimately leaving a pretty open B site. Sereni again was the only player to hold it down. Well, he made his own mistakes. It really shouldn't have been a position that he had to be in, stuck in the first place. So big round for Fiend, of course, with the rifles back in play. 4Glory's economy taking a hit. Still getting that AWP out for D and still buying the rest of the M4s as well. Sat in, of course, for Fiend, who are also taking damage. They lost 4 of their players in that previous round, so look at the damage they can take out of this one. Orbs gets set in for Han, trying to see if he can catch that jump facing City player. He gets the info and he just falls back. Allows Serena to take face and that all-important opening kill.
That was a very interesting setup coming through from the bait for 4Glory, just having that jump spotter to bait out the AWP and get that information. And you're not expecting someone to be playing on the half wall at all, and it just allows the pick to come through from Sereni, and how quickly he just goes back to passiveness.
Especially after they give up the info of the jump face from Stag. Like, you assume, okay, well, they're playing a contact setup, right? Well, it's contact setup on 2 players, not just the one. Eventually, they rotate back to the passive contact from Collins. 4 players over on this A site. That's where Fiend are leaning into, including that bombs position.
It all just comes now to baiting rotations. Bubble's been able to get a lot of map control to this top of banana position. He could put a smoke and a flash down. Just try and see if he can drive them out, because it is going to be a lean into A.
Marini catches the bomb carrier. Victor goes down. Nades will not be enough to drive the kill away from that cubby position. Can see a smoke coming in to bail him out, and if not, they've got 3 more CTs to defend the site. Dry face from Dreamer. Falls to Kindo. Red Star and Bubble. Now on a 2 versus 5, and they're just falling back to save here. Not enough time. No bomb control. No map control. It's going to be 13 for 4Glory.
And what do we always say when you're trying to fake? Don't show bomb. And in that situation, Bubble's got util. He's using it out to the B side, trying to see if they can pull some of the rotates. Sereni peeks out from the long cubby corner, goes, right, I've not only seen the bomb, I've dropped it. It is definitely a B fake, so everyone stay on A.
The tactical timeout called in for Fiend now. Kind of with no real choice in the matter. They really need to get something together soon. Now 4Glory are only 3 rounds away from the victory on their map pick. And we talked about the possibility of a victory on their map pick, not a likelihood. Fiend should have had this wrapped up. Fiend should have had a much better basis to work from. They have been stunned here in this opening map.
Yeah, they have, and they've come up against a solid 4Glory side who's done their homework coming into this. They've definitely been able to pull ahead, and for Fiend, it's average. And for a team that's borderline top 30, with the amount of achievements they've found recently, we have high expectations, and we're not quite seeing that here on Inferno. 4Glory getting closer and closer to 16th, and what an achievement that will be to be able to take this map and not even allow Fiend to get to double digits.
Smoke set in, the T-side players. The M4's trying to swing out on against the CT line. It's Fiend that make their walks up at the force buy. A very important one for them to win, because they'll have no money to work with if they cannot get a bomb plant or a round here. The Nays will do the damage, force them out of banana entirely.
D is very aggressive, and he has no support behind him. He's left all of the rotates back to the A site itself. He's got to get a kill and try and fall back.
2 frags in, making it a 3rd with D doubling up. And Fiend just capitulated here in the banana control. Dreamer and Victor. Last couple of individuals that remain, trying to see what they can recover in this one, but surely in the same sort of scenario in the last round, this should be just a 14th for 4Glory. If Dreamer can try force out some sort of advantage, smoke down to the CT, cross D's already counteracting it. Collins might even go for an aggressive face against the AK. Or Battles sees one player crossing, smoke down, M4 swings up. Collins not quite as great against Dreamer, but they've seen both T-side players. Eventually they find that pick. Victor will find one trade, only one trade. It's 14 for the CT side.
And they're just getting closer and closer now. Fiend running out of rounds, running out of room to work with. Great sequence from D. I love the way that, first of all, he's not getting flashed. I mean, it's not really down to him. It's down to the T side in the way that they played it. Just a dry peek, get that Orb Yorp duel onto Han, fall back, play the advantage. Even on the site itself, the M4s are doing continuous damage too. 2 more to go, and for Fiend, even the buyback, it's not a complete force. They have given themselves some extra money to work with. They have heavily invested into the next.
No choice in this one. It's either that or play for OT. A 5-round differential. Victor can get the kill in on D to start things off. So remove that first individual from play. The Yorp's been dropped to T-side hands. Could get picked up and committed. Meanwhile, Serini acts towards the back, lines up towards top mid. Kindo with one good trade on towards that short control. But they've got an advantage now here. Fiend sprays through. The Molotovs burn that player down. And they counter-rotate back into the B-side. They're baiting in rotations. And BZM open for the plant.
Probably the first major mistake I've seen from 4Glory in the second half, because they really have been playing well. That situation there, we see the opening kill going the way over the T side from Fiend, and then what happens at the bottom of Banana? Serini gets over aggressive, pushes through the banana smoke, and what's ready for him? Han. Looking at the overside, they are waiting for that mistake to come through, that overly aggressive move unnecessarily, and for 4Glory, they get punished in that round.
Finally, a bit of success going the way for Fiend, and again, with that force buy in tow, knowing that they had to kind of win that or lose the whole map up potentially. All-important victory here for the Bulgarians at this stage. There's a rebuy on the table for 4Glory. They ideally want to save these 2 rifles on AVN and Collins. Some limiting factors, of course. But for the most part, the guns stay in. The Tech 9
yes!
does find the kill on Collins, so there will be 1 less rifle. That's the AK removed as well.
Mate, imagine AVN is sitting there on the site and he doesn't peek, he doesn't hear what the sound cue. He's just hiding, and his teammate dies because of it. Oh, that's so unfortunate for the CTs, because they really couldn't afford it to lose anymore. They will be able to get the buyback. You look at the money in the reserve, though, and you've got 2 players less than $1,000.
Yeah, nice bonus to get the firepower out as well. 4Glory, regardless of what weapons they have a full investment, and if they can win this next buy round, they could still set themselves up on map points. With Fiend's own economy still being crippled, they might also have an investment, but arguably it's better for 4Glory. There's a Galil out for Bubble and an M4 for Victor. T-side walking into the Banana and Apartments control, and 4Glory will try and meet them in passive or just directly head on in the case of the Banana position.
Yeah, Collins very aggressive up to the top of Banana with Serini on the contact. And Kindo just trying to see if he can back up the AWP out from the Apartments itself. 4Glory not thinking about pressing the issue even further, instead thinking about a boost up over to the flower pots, or instead just leave Collins alone at B.
Sprays through the smokes on AVN, flashes out to try to get Brackus control, the short control in particular for Red Star. It's in the area to lay as 4Glory try and stall for time. All T-side players are committing to this, and actually they do force out the opening kill. Red Star finding D. 1 player out in the Apartments wall. Kindo going to try look for this fight, but Red Star's got him as well. Looking for Serini, sees that gun barrel, and 1 man's all they need to get the A site under their control. It's a 5v2. Fiend will lose 1 individual, but this retake's off for AVN and Collins.
Okay, he makes it look sick. To be honest, though, that's probably the easiest 3K he could ask for. So first of all, he's playing Boiler. AWP aggresses him. Slow walk in from D. Great shot to start off. Then he spots Kindo on a jiggle peek out from balcony. So look at the way that he's pre-aiming. He's not just thinking, oh, he might be there in the Apartments. No. He saw the side of him. He saw a shoulder. He knew that he was up in the balcony position outside of the Apartments. And then even the next player, Serini, I mean, the gun barrel's being seen.
Trades are at least being found by the CT side. They get some damage on the board against Fiend. So again, the economy is going to be limited for the T-side line. Maybe 4Glory could justify a force buy off the back of that. Collins hears that player inbound. He does lose his life in the end, so all 5 weapons do get taken out of 4Glory. That makes the force buy a little bit less tenable. Still an expensive round for Fiend, but one that they need to win, so that's exactly what they'll get.
Now, Fiend just being able to open up A, simple sequence, and I love the hunt. Yeah, they do lose quite a few players when you think they've got, what, a 4v2 advantage when they open up the A side. So they lose a couple more. Dreamer being able to deal with the last of Collins out from the church and construction angle itself. Now, where do they go with the money? Because AVN, Collins, and Serini, they're all right. D and Kindo, not quite the same. So this might just be a hero weapon for one. Could just be a light eco. Go for a half invest. I don't think it's worth forcing the issue.
They won't go for it. AVN did have an inkling that he was going to go for it. The SMG does come out of the half bite. Has a little bit excess cash. We can't afford it. But again, it's just mostly going to be a half-bought set of pistols with that little automatic to try and bolster them up here. See what AVN can do. Getting aggressive initiatives. The T's are not going to be aware of this. Very little info being given up by 4Glory so far. AVN could catch them off guard. It depends how far Fiend want to go with this. Still playing out the default, though. They want to try and get a pick before they commit.
Serini just with the crossfire AVN. Got to think as well, if there's even just a molly that goes down onto AVN's position, he's pretty much a dead man and being drawn out into the open. They are hearing some of the footsteps going back up from mid and away from Banana.
Smokes on Collins. Falls back. Engaged upon. Flashes in. D watching for that quad position, trying to catch off players that might overextend a little bit too far. Fiend again, we're going to run the timer pretty low, not too riskily low. Enough that they'll be able to force out the CT side into awkward angles. Red Star looks in, catches D. Great trade from Collins, needs to get a second though, he can't do it. Kindo waiting for the bomb plant to come down at default. If it goes down at default, that's his chance to try and strike. He's been seen and sprayed. Harm gets AVN. And now looks for the double up on Serini. And the eco gets cleaned up pretty effective. His gun's back out for 4Glory.
Chance now for them to just get that round that gives them that safety. They get up to 15. Don't allow Fiend to continue on the comeback. And in that whole situation, right, you can't really ask the USP to do as much damage as possible. The Deagles are there on the contact. Doesn't quite come through. Double AWPs are going to come out for both Collins and for D. I gotta wonder as well for Fiend how much we're gonna see in terms of pace. D getting flashed off straight away. Doesn't even think about a peek down from mid after that. Oh, hard.
On the crack angle, expecting CT to try and aggress him again. Doesn't quite find a pick for it in the early game though. Flashes will try and return that AWP back into position, but he's smoked off. And re-smokes off that bracket entrance. It will be Harm that comes up with a pick. Two to line up for AVN, but Harm actually gets a wall bang onto him, probably through his teammate.
Yeah.
2 kills coming back. D can return 1 for the 4Glory side, but without the man advantage, they're already going for the save.
Imagine getting a wall bang through bubble onto the porch side player in quad. That is a great shot to hit from Han. And for 4Glory, you're now in a position where you're saving double AWPs, you've got an M4, money's not great, so the T's are going to start going hunting to see if they can get any more players. I would expect if all 3 CTs can stay alive, that a force has to be here for the Serbians.
Flicks back. Smokes go down and the CT's trying to defend their rifles, but again, the exit frags pouring in for Fiend. Collins can get Victor at least. And double up on towards Red Star, so again, it's just going to be fending off the defensive and keeping the round expensive for Team Fiend. They've got plenty of money overall, though, so I don't think that's going to be much of a major worry. Hard does drop as well. 13th to the board of Fiend. Again, their big concern is trying to grind this back and get this map under their control.
I don't know if they force now, Jay, because when you look at it from 3 players staying alive, you go, okay, Collins is going to drop an M4. D, he's going to drop an M4. Everyone's got weapons. Where now, you look at it and think, okay, well, what's going to happen? Are we going to see a FAMAS out for 1? Are we going to see an MP9? It's not quite the same favorable position, and it does seem like they want to have a crack at the force.
Last drop to AVN looks likely to be the case. 4Glory calling for their last tactical timeout in this particular matchup. A 14-13, of course, leaves them at a major disadvantage, or major disadvantage in terms of momentum. Obviously, still holding the lead for the time being. They've got one real opportunity, Blake, to try and get us back into the map point itself and try and look for their own map pick again. So much concern surrounding 4Glory. Fiend have really brought this back.
And for all the viewers over at home, remember, map 1 here between Fiend and 4Glory, the winner of this best of 3 is going to land, is getting that ticket into a top 4 placing. And what a way to start off this first map of the series, right, Jay? With 14-13, it's getting incredibly close, it's getting down to the economy from the CT side, and honestly, this is anyone's game to win this first map.
It really is, and we thought it was only going to be 4Glory's game to take it pretty effectively. Fiend could still usurp them and gain back control. All sorts of potential, of course, in this particular one for them. So, I mean, really, just buckle in and get ready for the end of the map up, because it really could be down to the wire. We could be on for another overtime, which, you know, 3 overtimes in 2 days. I think that's definitely an appropriate way for the qualification matches. And for Team Fiend, again, the comeback has been real. They were down 7-1 at the start of the game. We thought that might have been a very awkward time for them, but fortunately, unlike Ancient yesterday, they brought it back and maintained presence.
It's been an odd one for Fiend, because you're right about that slow start. They also had a bit of a slow start in the second half, didn't they? They were down 1-7 from the start, and then in the second, they won pistol, lost that anti-force buy. So if you just look at the rounds itself, they were down 2-6 at the start of the second half. So it's only really been when rifles have started coming through, and they've been down by deficits, are we seeing the Fiend, the one that can really show up and start exploding forward.
And again, we've looked at these circumstances between these two sides, and we've looked at Fiend again in comparison to yesterday. It's not looking like the Fiend that I usually know. Starting to see glimpses of that successful side, trying to look for a successful map up. And on their opponent's map pick to go up of 16-14, it's respectable, is what happened in the last best of 3 series between these two squads as well. So, I mean, it's not the most unlikely of scenarios, but I was expecting a bit more from these guys. I was expecting a bit more of dominance in that respect.
Yeah, and for 4Glory, again, we sort of said the idea of coming into this, the best that they can really hope for is trying to get an upset on a map. You know, try and see if they can win their map pick. And so far, it's been relatively impressive from the Serbians. We've seen a good performance coming in from Collins. They've been reading the game pretty well. They've been really giving a fight. And for a team that is ranked outside of the top 120 in the world, anytime you're facing off against top-tier competition like a Sinners or a Fiend, if you can just keep it tight and keep it a close game, that's already a good sign.
Absolutely, I think you're bang on the money in that respect. For 4Glory, just knowing that again they're major underdogs in the context of this particular game, it's going to be one of those cases where you do see a little bit of of potential in sense of just getting the map up itself. And to be fair, they fulfilled a lot of that potential right now in this game, and they're still within touching distance. They're still getting that one map and that one opportunity, and that one sort of like consolation prize that we were going to give them in the context of this matchup. For Fiend, though, they just had a lot of momentum behind them, and they've still just managed to maintain control of the situation. They've managed to maintain control of their matchup thus far. So I look at them and I still feel like they're in the driver's seat. They're still in a really good spot overall. Small tech pause before we get back into the matchup, of course, here at 14-13, and it really could still tip either way. Like, we could be seeing Fiend make their way up to 16-14, and we could be seeing the map point round finally come in for the likes of 4Glory. I do feel like, however, that Fiend have started to play their own game and started to play the Fiend style that I recognize in this game.
Yeah, and you'd have to imagine that the result on map 1 could actually really make a difference in the series. If 4Glory are able to take this map of Inferno, their map pick, they go into map 2 with a lot of confidence. They go into the rest of the series saying, guys, we've really got an upper hand. Whereas the Fiend, if they take this first map, they'll know that they'll really be tested and know that it went down to the wire. They'll still have the upper hand and that gut feeling of, all right, now going into Dust 2, we're on a 12-map winning streak on this. Well, looks good for us.
It does look good for them in that respect. I mean, look, they are within touching distance, I guess, of extending it or ending it, I guess you could say, in both particular cases. You know, like, it's still very up in the air right now. It's still very sure. In a weird scenario. And one good round could tip the balance of the entire matchup here, Twig. So, like, what do you want to see the most coming into our last couple of rounds of this game?
Not cracking under pressure. Is probably the first one for 4Glory, knowing that, again, we've kind of spoken about it many times, that they are the underdog, it is their map pick. Don't crumble. Don't make some silly mistakes, some over peaks that aren't really necessary. Just focus down, knuckle in, know that you've played some very decent Counter-Strike so far, and just move on from there.
Well, unfortunately, our small little tech issue has enabled us to miss a couple of rounds, so it's 15-14
okay.
to the favor of 4Glory, with one more round to go to take their map pick. Fiend have got to take it to overtime, meanwhile.
All right. Well, Collins has reached 30 by the looks of it. Jeez, the in-game leader, another sick performance from him. 13 kills and 14 deaths. He has been leading the charge in pretty much every single map the 4Glory have played in this International Online Cup. Fiends, though, one more round to bring it to OT. So going into round 30, this is really on.
One round to separate. Again, Fiend with a lot of pressure against them, but still an opportunity to re-rise back in against 4Glory. Rifles out, AKs, M4s, AWP, and for D with the AKs across the entire board for Fiend. They've worked so hard to bring this back from such a ridiculous deficit that they had. The M4 Collins, look how aggressive he wants to be here. Looks for Victor, looks for contact, sprays through, does damage on towards two, gets those kills. Harm with a trade back, at least finds him responsive, but will that be enough to get Fiend back in control? Or have 4Glory won this from here?
That's a great start to the round. That's a great aggressive play coming through from Collins, and it rips damage. Serini thinking about re-smoking up to that top of banana position. He's the only one here. He needs help from rotators.
Okay, in, Red Star boosted. Head, no, just got spotted, I think, by Serini. Either way, he's got three individuals to find. He made noise, they heard it, he gets out of dodge, tries to win that one fight, can't quite make it happen though. 3 on 3, Red Star with his trade. AVN got a hold of against all three, could line them all up, and it's right here with a single play. He almost did, he might have already done enough. Han's got no HP whatsoever in a 1-on-2 scenario, and Nade backed across, going to try to take the engagement against D. Pistols out, Kindo running in with an AK. Bomb yet to get planted, but Han's got to win these fights.
And even getting the bomb down may be a difficult issue. Try and fake it, try and draw him out into the open. And no one is peeking. They are playing this so passively for 4Glory.
That's that made. Kindo's going to come in from the cross. AK set. He wins that fight. Han, 1v1, 3 kills. Reloading, caught out. D's going to hear the footsteps, take the AWP to face in. A shoulder, barely giving up. A flashbang that does go over the pistol. Working in with 13 seconds. Bomb's got to get planted soon. Han's going to stick it. Tap it. Got to look around towards coffins, though. Slow creeps in from D. 5 seconds. It's all a case of timing. And he wins that fight but by playing the patient game. 60-14. 4Glory will at long last take their map pick.